Good morning, this is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here, Yeshiva Salanavshi, located in Yerushalayim Kodesh, not too far from the central bus station on Rehov Zikron Yaakov number 6, in the base Knesset of Chanukah Yeshivas. And we're starting our first year in the morning here at 9 o'clock, Pirkei Avos. You're welcome to join us, please, especially if you're coming from Chutz La'aretz, please, when you're flying to Eretz Israel, join us for our shiurim. We're happy to have guests and make new friends. Today we're continuing with Pirkei Avos. Moshe Kibul Torah Sinai, Moshe Yeshua Zakeni, Zakeni Movavi, Moshe La'anshei Knesset Gedolah. Ve'hem Amru Shlosha Devarim. They said three things. I'm assuming within, be patient, careful in judgment, Amidu Talmidim Harveh, establish many disciples, and also Sogil Torah, make a fence around the Torah. So now we're in the middle of the Karen Or, who is explaining the Gemara in Yuma, which explains about the Anshe Knesset Gedolah, why they're called Anshe Gedolah, which we discussed before. That's primarily because Yirmiyah and Daniel had difficulties saying the words Noira, Gibor, because at the time of Korban and Gullus, it was difficult to say these things because you didn't see clearly the workings of Hashem in an awesome and a mighty way for the benefit of Klal Yisrael. But the Anshe Knesset Gedolah, when they came back from Gullus with Ezra, after 70 years of the Gullus, the exile and bubble, they reinstituted the proper understanding of how we can say Noira and Gribor in the time of Gullus and Korban, as we'll continue now in the Karen Ora. Let's we're in the middle here. Let's maybe pick up. Okay, Hein Gevuras. That's we learned the Gemara a few times. So we said that the Goyim, it's about 10 lines down into the full middle section. You have that, Matizio?
Yes, sir.
The word on the line begins Hein.
Okay.
Gevurosus, Hein Neurosis, meaning in Kol Zeh. Right. So let's start over there. That's going to be where we pick up today. In Kol Zeh, meaning now that the Anshe Knesset Gedolah have reestablished the understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is awesome and mighty, even in the face of Gullus and destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. So now we want to understand a little bit more about what they were saying about these three things. As we learned previously, all these three things that they said, they obviously said more than three things. That's what two of the major commentaries, Rav Bartanura and the Rashbats mentioned. They obviously, the Anshe Knesset Gedolah, they obviously said more than three things. So what's unique about these three things? Basic is Rashi taught us they all have to do with the kiyum of Torah. These are three specific, unique things that have to do with the continuation and the preservation of Torah throughout what they were entering a new era in the Klal Yisrael, the second bias. Right, coming back to Eretz Israel out of Babel was a new era, the rebuilding of the Beis Hamikdash, and a whole new reestablishment of Eretz Israel with Klal Yisrael living there, hopefully doing the mitzvahs as best as possible. And for those three things that they said were necessary to preserve that. Okay, so let's learn a little bit more about what they were trying to teach us. So that line after Hein Gevurosov, Hein Orosov. Lauren, you like to take over there?
Sure.
In Kol Zeh.
In Kol Zeh, Zihiru, Zikron Levracha, Mesachen Hamaisa, V'lahafek L'tov, Hol Beis Amudim. They went to fix the practices.
Right.
Okay. And they set up two poles,
Pillars.
Pillars. Elu ke
Kishamar Hazal.
Kishamar Zal and Avos. Havu Mesunim Bedin, to be careful in din. Ki Am Yisrael Din Emes.
Ki al yedei zeh.
Al yedei
din.
Al Yedei Din Emes, because of good, true judgment. Lemetiv
Lamata.
Down below.
Right.
Okay. Ein Din Lamala. There will not be a din from above. So if as long as we judge truly down here, we will not be punished for not doing it correctly.
Right. That's a general rule, right? If there's din lamata, if there's din here in this world, then there will be no din in the next world.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's a huge statement.
Go ahead. Explain.
It's one of the things that Hasidish talk about,
Mm-hmm.
Rav Nachman, is if you go through the judgment process on yourself, then the Samach Mem has no issue, has no grounds to take you to court in Shemayim. If you go ahead and judge yourself and you go through tshuva and you repent and you're truly sorry in this world, it saves you from having to go through that process when you get there.
But this case is talking about something. It's talking about when you are judging in din, not just yourself. It's judging in general. Okay, that you are judging other people truly and fairly and correctly. Then Hashem will not come down and punish us as a claw. Okay, it's kind of, it's not, it's like kind of parallel to what you said. What you were talking about is more of
an individual.
More of an individual.
So this is talking
really
about
how it relates to Klal Yisrael as a whole.
Right. Matziah was expanding it to the personal level, but what the Anshe Mesidor we're talking about primarily in terms of a dayan who's a judge, but that also can be related. You can relate it to us personally, because the process is the same. Meaning, when a Beis Din is going to take matters into their own hands and decide the law, the Torah law, according to what needs to be done, whether that might be making a penalty, might be giving you lashes, might giving you the death sentence, right? And when these things are carried out, so that relieves the necessity of the judgments in the spiritual worlds, right? With everything's been taken care of here, right? We say this also with Makabli Yisurim, a person, lo aleinu, a person shouldn't ask for sufferings, right? But if he's getting sufferings, right, so it's better to get sufferings in this world than to get sufferings in the next world. Next world's sufferings are spiritual, eternal, much more dimensionally compounded than we can ever imagine. A little bit of what they call small change in this world takes away a lot of very severe eternal types of sufferings in the next world. So if a person has the opportunity that he's having Yisurim, he shouldn't ask for them, but if they come upon him, he should realize that it's a tremendous opportunity. So much so, the Rabbeinu Yonah in his first shar of Sharai Tshuva says that a person should be thankful for the Yisurim, for the sufferings, just like any other benefits that Kadosh Baruch Hu gives to him. And he calls them benefits, he calls them good things. He actually calls sufferings good things, because without suffering, a person can wind up with a very big bill to pay for in the next world. But when the person's paying for it with a small change in this world, so he goes there and hopefully there won't be any bill to pay in the next world.
Doesn't get a chance to compound.
Right, that's right.
Doesn't get a chance to compound.
Right. So, just again, so therefore, the Anshe Kenosis, they said, Lazir Zal, the Takin HaMaisa V'Hapek HaToyim, Poel Beis Amudim, Elu. So they wanted to, in setting up these three things that they mentioned, right, that they wanted, going back to the Gevura and the Noira, they wanted to, first of all, say that a person should be, as we continue now, Mesunim B'din, they should be careful in judgment, because once there's a careful, proper, true judgment in this world, so that will alleviate the necessity for a judgment in the next world. And that's going to mahapech es hamidas l'rachamim. That's going to change over the strict letter of judgment to the characteristic of rachamim.
Mercy.
Right? So there'll be a situation of mercy, right, instead of a situation of judgment, right? And then they went on and added another two things.
The Amudo Talmudei Harbe, and raised many disciples. The Asu Siag Torah, and build a fence around the Torah.
What's the explanation of that?
Ki ein lecha davar me'orer Hisgalus, Nerusav Latov, Kmo Asik B'Torah.
Asik
B'Torah. There's nothing that will ease the galus.
His galus is to reveal. So ein lecha davar me'orer his galus noros of the toiv. There's nothing else. There's no greater thing that will influence the revelation of Hashem's might for goodness, like Asik Torah. If a person is going to be learning Torah, there's nothing else in the world that can bring a revelation and understanding of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's toiv, for his desire and ability and his constant giving goodness to this world. There's nothing that will reveal this to the world more than learning Torah. If a person is learning Torah, that is going to be a focus of Kadosh Baruch Hu's goodness in the world that will never be revealed greater than that. The greatest goodness that can come into the world is through learning Torah. When a person is learning Torah, he's allowing the windows of Shemayim to be opened like floodgates, and there's going to be a tremendous influx of good into this world. And nothing can do that like learning Torah. Whether it's one person by himself, two people b'charus, or three in a group, 10 in a group, whatever you have, even one person sitting by himself, there's no other thing that can bring in goodness to this world like the learning of Torah.
And how do we know this?
This is brought down throughout all the Sforim. I probably suggest that just take a look at Chumash, right? Who was the first person who brought kindness into the world? That was Avram Avinu, right? Avram. You could even go back to Noah, who saved the whole world. Noah. These were the people who were not just Siddiqim, but they also were, whatever Torah they had, they didn't have Torah like we have in the Gemorahs and Shulchan Aruch and all that, but they certainly had Torah. There was, Adam Rishon was privileged to know Torah in a certain, whatever fashion that was, and he taught that over to his sons, and Noah eventually received that. Meaning, we're learning Moshe Kibbutz Torah Messina. We can really go back to Adam was Makabel Torah also from the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and eventually gave that finally down. Noah did see, in fact, Adam Rishon from, and then Avram Avinu learned from Noah. So Avram Avinu, even though he didn't see Adam Rishon, he learned from Noah, and Noah learned from Adam Rishon. So you have a direct transition from Noah, from Adam Rishon, Noah, Avram Avinu, then to Yitzchak Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, and then you have 3-4 generations from Yitzchak Avinu to Moshe Rabbeinu, and then you're on the road right here in Pirkei Avos. So it's not very far from us. So they all had Torah. For example, Avram Avinu, the Chazal say that he had 400 Pirkei Mishnayos in Avodah Zarah. We have, I think, there are 7 or 8 Prakim of Avodah Zarah. But Avram had, because there was much more Avodah Zarah at the time, so he had 400 tractates of and subchapters of the Gemorahs, not the Gemorahs, but the Mishnayos of Avodah Zarah. So he certainly had Torah, and these were the people who brought goodness into the world. Noah was the one who he was the one who Shem chose to be the whole remnant of the world to survive the flood. Avram Avinu, after his time, 10 generations from Noah to Avram Avinu, so Sodom was fit to be destroyed, and it was destroyed. Avram Avinu instead brought chesed into the world, and a person who's really involved in Torah is also going to be involved in chesed. Right? They go hand in hand. Right? We'll be getting to that soon in the Shimon Tzaddik, the Shli Omudi HaOlam. Torah, Avoda, and Gemilas Chasadim. There's Torah, learning Torah, Avoda, that's basic. Korbanos in the basic English. Good morning. And we're right there. And
Good morning.
so Gemilas Chasadim. So after you have Torah, Avoda, you have Gemilas Chasadim. Doing kindness, and that's they all go hand in hand. Okay. So the conduit for rachamim, for compassion, for good in this world is Torah. If a person doesn't have Torah, he'll remain a selfish person, right? The only thing that can change a person from being selfish is we're born selfish. A baby is born selfish. You have to cry out when you're hungry and you're dirty and you need your mother. So you have to cry, and that's all you're concerned about, being clean, dry, and well fed, right? And most people without Torah, so they're going to remain in that state until they leave this world. So all their main concerns are going to be eating is being clean, dry, and well fed. And unfortunately, without Torah, that's the way people stay. The only thing that can change a person is Torah. So yeah, so we see that, as it says here, that there's galus of Tov, and it's brought through the Asik Torah.
Kishor Torah Mida Hazos. The root of Torah is from this Mida. Kemuvor the Divrei Zatzal. Gimel Amudim Ola Torah the Avoda V'Gimel Chasadim. On three foundations: Torah, Avoda, and Gimel Chasadim. Avoda v'Gimel Chasadim heim Kitzvos. Okay. What's Kitzvos?
Okay, they are the extremes, if I'm not mistaken, right? You're saying that there's a spectrum, Kitzvos, right? So
Kitzvah, that's a kid payment kilo.
let's see it in context.
Torah Machrias he.
Yeah, that's right. Avoda and Gimel Kitzvos, they're the extremes, and Torah is Machriya here. The Torah is going to make the decision, right? Because why? Because you have Avoda, and you have Gimel Chasadim. So you have a person is perhaps left with two choices. Avoda, so let's call that prayer in our time. If it was the basic English, you have the basic English of Korbanos. Gimel Chasadim is doing good acts. So you have, let's say, a spectrum, and you have completely prayer. Like, let's say the extreme spectrum is person's going to be praying all day long. That's all he's doing. The Gemara says, Rav Yochanan says, right, halavai, right, we call neshima and neshima, we should say thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Every breath we should be saying thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? But since it's impossible, every time you take a breath, you'll be saying thank you. So the whole time you're breathing, you're saying thank you. So that's the extreme. Complete avoda in terms of prayer, extremely, absolutely doing nothing except prayer, right? The other extreme is doing Gemilas Chasadim, helping people, right? So you have two extremes, prayer on one hand, complete absolute prayer, constant, and you have complete absolute Gemilas Chasadim. Obviously, a person can't do either all the time, right? So what's going to be machmir? What's going to decide when and what and how you should do? That's Torah. Torah is in the middle, and Torah is going to decide, well, how much do you have? For example, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai v'Chaveiro. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, right? His Torah was on such a level, he was patur from Tefillah. All he had to do was say the first pasuk of Tefillah Shema. That's it. He didn't have to pray. He was patur from Tefillah, and it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch. I can show it to you, right? It's a din in Shulchan Aruch. If a person and we don't have that so much. I think the Mishnah Berurah says clearly in our generation such people don't exist. But if such a person would exist, that his Torah Nosov is complete, absolute, complete interest and activity in the world is completely absolute in Torah constantly, right? Then he really doesn't have to pray. He has no need to pray, right? So that's where you can have Torah being machriya, that he doesn't have to pray. And for the same reason, he doesn't have to take time out to do Gemil Sasadim either, right? Because for both reasons, the reason why his tefillah he's part of the tefillah is because Torah is Magin Umatzil. Torah, what are people praying for all the things that they need? Torah gives you everything you need. Right? The Torah is the plug which you plug into the sources of Shemayim, the things that are coming down from Shemayim, that plugs you into those things. Right? If the plug is weak, so you need to go through getting it through other means, through prayer, things like this. If that plug is weak, so then there's a lack of what people need. If there's a lack of what people need, so you need more Gemil and Sasadim. You have to do more Chesed. But if there's a complete, absolute Shefa Bracha coming into this world, so everyone has what they need, so you don't have to do so much Gemil and Sasadim. Right? So that's how Torah is Machri between the two of them. Okay. Ki Shoresh HaTorah Hamida Hazos. Torah is the root, the source of this characteristic.
Okay. Come over the Dverei Sal. Begin on Modos Olam. The world stands on three pillars. Torah Avoda Gimel Chasadim, Avoda Gimel Chasadim HaKitzvos, VeHaTorah Machuyev Hi, V'chein Hadin Emes V'Shalom. He's jumping to the last minor in Pirkei Avos in the first parak is the world is also Miskayim Bedin Emes and Shalom. That's why he's jumping to these, because it's really, we'll get to that when we finally get to Shimon Tzaddik and we see what it says there at the end of the first parak. It's a sort of a repeat, not exactly. There are major differences between the two, but he's saying in general, what Torah does is the same between Torah, Avoda, Gemir, Tzadim, is the same as functioning as Din, Emes, and Shalom. But we'll explore that later as we get on further to the Pirkei Avos in the end. Okay? He actually goes into it. Dinhu, he goes into Dinhu, Me'ain, Avoda. Din is part of Avoda?
It's similar to, I think, Me'ain, like Me'ain Olam, Shabbos Me'ain Olam Haba, Me'ain. Shabbos Me'ain Olam Haba. So Din is Me'ain Avoda. Din is similar to Avoda.
Okay. Skula Achas Lahem Lehefech Hakol Latov. It is a
Segula is, in this case, Segula meaning it's something which is beneficial.
okay.
It's something which is beneficial.
And will turn everything to good. Emes hu Malus Torah, and truth is.
That's the characteristic of Torah.
Character of Torah. Ki Torah emes hi, because Torah is true. Shalom hu Mishorash Chesed, and peace is the root of Chesed.
Okay, so that's worthwhile repeating, because again, just to get you don't have all the Pirkei. You'll take a look at the first parak in Avos there. You don't have all of them now because since he's jumping to it. So the second mimer that we'll get to after the Anshe Knesset Gedola is the Shimon Tzaddik was the Sharshi Anshe Knesset. He was the last remaining member of the Anshe Knesset Gedola. We learned a few things about that already. Hu Omer, he said, Al Shlosha Devarim Omer, Al Torah, Al Avodah, Al Gimel Sasadim. That's what we've been discussing. At the very last, as I mentioned, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, the last mimer in the first parak, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer, Al Shlosha Devarim Ha'alim Mikayim. I mean, not Oimed. Rabbi Shimon Tzaddik's motion was Al Shlosha Devarim Ha'olim Oimed, stands, meaning they're pillars for the world that the world stands upon. We'll discuss that more as we get into that. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says a little bit differently. Al Shlosha Devarim Ha'olim Kayim. On three things the world continues. There's Oimed, that it exists, that's standing, and Kayim, that it's continuing. Ala Emes, Ala Din, Ala Sholom. Right? So now
You have a different wording for that one.
You do? Yeah, what do you have?
I said, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer, Al Shosha Devarim Olam Omeid, Al Din Da Emes, Yal Shalom. Shemar Emes, Mishpat, Shalom, Shifto about the Shari.
Oimid, I'll show you Oimid,
You had
right?
Omed. Well,
No,
he
it's
said
Kayim, I have Kayim.
right. So
What you said, Omed there, the second one?
Yeah, it only has Omed here.
Oh,
right.
He has Omed for Kayim.
No, Kayim, just
Oh,
Kayim.
just
Just
Kayim.
Kayim, just
Okay.
Kayim.
So it's a different word.
Word, yeah.
And a different meaning.
Yeah, but sure, definitely.
Significantly different meaning.
Definitely. Okay, so we're going to go, obviously we're going to go into that when we get to that. And maybe just we'll jump over to that maybe when we get to the full explanation of Rabbi Shimon Tzaddik, what he explains and how that contrasts with that. But so then we'll have to look at some of the editions have the different nusos, the different textual changes, and some may have that in fact. We'll see about that. So that's what he's explaining over here. Yeah, they parallel each other. That what it says about here that Shlosha Omid Oilam Torah Voda Gimos Sasadim Avoda Gimos Sasadim. So it says that that they are similar. Each one is similar and corresponding to Din and Emes and Sholem. Okay, let's see a few words further. Okay.
Kimi Daso Sha'arna Kohen Al Shalom Ish HaChesed. Arna Kohen Al Shalom exhibited the midah of Chesed. He Rodev Shalom, he ran after peace. That was one of his things he was known for. In Cain,
I think Al-Kain.
Al-Kain.
Yeah.
Okay.
In-Kain would be the Aleph.
Right. Al-Kain. Ba'u lahazir lahizahir al hechsher hamaisa.
Good.
He was careful to do things properly.
Yeah, there's al hechsher hamaisa. Yeah, that it should be the preparation for the Maisa, meaning the Hekshra Maisa. Hekshra Maisa Lamad, meaning the action should be prepared in order to accomplish something. Meaning when you're doing something, right, you should be doing something with a certain goal, right? So based on that goal, right, you prepare what you're doing based on your goal. Yeah, there's important yesod in general with everything. Meaning, we say that Kadosh Baruch Hu, when He made the world, and also we say that Makshava Tchila Sof Maisa. Makshava Tchila. First, you have the Makshava, right? You have the Makshava, which is your goal, what you want to accomplish, and then Sof Maisa. After you have your goal and you set everything up in order to accomplish it, finally, then you go into action, right? Only foolish people go into action first without knowing what they're trying to accomplish, right? Even though it might look very beneficial, but if you have a goal which you want to achieve, right? So then you plan, and then you go into action to achieve your goal, and then you realize whether you achieved your goal, and if yes, if not, and if you didn't, you can always make improvements to decide how you can achieve your goal the next time, right? But if you have no goal and you're simply just doing something, right? So that's why we say Heksher Mitzvah Kamitzvah. The preparation for the mitzvah is like the mitzvah, meaning because if you want to accomplish a mitzvah, you have to go into certain preparations of doing the mitzvah. If you want to have a kosher sukkah, so you have to realize what it takes to build a kosher sukkah. And you just think, well, you've just seen these huts that people sit, these Jewish people sit in the fall, and you see these huts, and it looks very nice, and you really won't know what goes into making a kosher sukkah. So you have to learn and prepare, and you're getting all the things that's necessary to fulfill the mitzvah. So finally you make a sukkah, and then when it comes time in Tezvav Tishrei, sukkahs, you can fulfill the mitzvah, because your goal was to fulfill the mitzvah. So you have to realize, what are all the things I have to do to fulfill the mitzvah? So that's what it calls the Heksher HaMaisa. Bola Hazir Heksher HaMaisa. He's coming to advise us on the preparation of the behavior, of the action, of the deed. Why? Laman
Yagoa Kulos Grosov Urosav Skymotova.
Oh, so
what I do with the
okay, so I think it's see, this happens to be a very deep explanation which he's giving. The Karen Ora here, he's saying, again, Haim Omer, the Mashikanis Kabbalah said three things, right? That they said, Nesunim B'din, Amido Tamido Harbe, Vosasai Torah. These three things, right, he's tying this to his explanation of the Gemara and Yuma. Why were they called the Anshe Knesset Gedolah? They were called the Anshe Gedolah because they returned the crown to its original state. They now, through their understanding, right, brought back the ability for us to say truthfully, Gibor, right, V'noira. Gibor V'noira. So there, he's explaining here that what they said following, right, Nesunim B'din, Aminu Tamin Harbe, Vosasayed the Torah, that was a Heksha Hamaisa, that was a preparation of the actions which are going to follow the Mani Gilo Polos of a Gevura B'norasa. They wanted to reveal the Gevura and the Noira of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? In order to do that, those three things which they taught us to do were a part of the plan to reveal the greatness and the mightiness of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, which we didn't have previously. The 70 years in Golis, we didn't have that previously. So when they set up the second base of Mikdash, and when we're talking all the brachas and tefillas and everything that we had, they also set up those three things which were necessary for the kiyum of Torah, but their Hetcher Meiser was in order to reveal their preparations. Their goal was Laman Yigel Apolos of Givrosa V'Norsa of Yishem Yisbarach L'Toiva. What was lacking previously was the ability, even Yirmi and Daniel could not see the Gevura and the Noira of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So they had to set up Klal Yisrael in a way that they were going to be able to see the Gevura and see the Noira of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, even Ad Hayom, even into our day when we're back in Golis. When it was in their time, it wasn't so bad. They had a base of Mikdash, they were back in Eretz Yisrael, right? So maybe they could say very honestly and truthfully, Gevura Sovenorsa. But how can we say Noira and Gevura? Yirmiyah couldn't do it when there was a Korban. We have a Korban also, right? Daniel in the middle of Golis, he couldn't say Noira, right? When they were enslaved. So we're also enslaved. So how can we say these things? So the Manshei Knesset Gedolah had to set it up that even we in our time would be able to say Noira Gibor, even in the matzav of Golis and Korban, which that's our matzav right now. Right? So that's I think what he's trying to explain. So we're going to try and go back to with this tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem. But that's what he's talking. The Heksha HaMaisa, they prepared the way that Klal Yisrael could honestly continue to say Gibur V'Noira, even in the state of Golis, even though they were now not living in Golis and not living in Korban. But eventually there would be another Korban, would be another Golis, and we have to be able to still say Gibur V'Noira. So that's the three things they were warning us about. Set up many Talmidim, right? Be careful in din, and you should make a sayeg l'Torah. These things would preserve Klal Yisrael, even in Golis and even in Korban, that we can be able to still see the Noira and the Gibor of Kadosh Baruch without Golis.
When Ezra came back